Hey, 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 everybody. We are getting ready to start up again. This is a session I am really looking forward to, not only because I think sound is so important to video, but because I get to moderate this great panel too. So this is an amazing group of people. So think about it. You don't think about sound except when it's not there or when it's bad. But sound in video is more than just being able to speak well and having it sound well. It's also the audio and the music that happens underneath that creates dramatic tension, that draws you in and doesn't let you out, and that tells a story before even a word is said. So what we're going to talk about here is how audio drives storytelling. And we have such an amazing group of people here. I'm going to shut up and get them up here right away. So speakers coming up right here, Becca Farsace, independent creator now, but used to work at The Verge and is Emmy and award winning. And she's amazing. Steve Wright, a creator and educator who built a channel teaching 1.6 million people how to shoot and edit. So glad to have him here. And good friend Gracie Schramm, who is running Creators for Epidemic Sound. And she's been 15 years in music. She's a recording artist. I could not get her to bring her guitar and sing for us, but she's going to be amazing to have on stage. So let me invite Becca, Steve, and Gracie on stage. Come on up, and we're going to talk about audio and video. I got to switch over my mics here. Okay. Becca, you're sitting next to me, so I'm going to get started with you.
Okay.
All right. So creators, production teams, what do they get wrong about what makes a video feel high quality?
Yeah, I think a lot of people sink a lot of money into the cameras and the lighting and the locations, but above all else, you just need a good story. You need a good subject, and then all of that, the other stuff will fall into place.
Steve, you teach the world how to make video. When you think about audio, what's the most undercoached skill out there when you think like how to use audio and video?
Audio in general is just really undercoached. People tend to lean into the visual side of things, camera movement, color grading, and audio just doesn't seem to get as much attention as what it probably should do, particularly when you're first starting out. It's probably the most underused thing when it comes to beginners editing video.
Well, and as a creator, it's very difficult to figure out how to do. I mean, I'm like, wait, audio? I've got to put audio in too? And like, how does that work? What's your deal? Like one thing where you say to a beginning video creator, like, don't fear the audio, don't fear the Reaper. You actually can do it and do it easily.
Yeah, well, a huge mistake I've seen is background noise. If let's say they're, for example, talking in a street, they've been talking to the camera for 10 minutes, now they're chopping up whatever it is that they've said to the camera. It sounds really choppy in the background because that background noise is just being cut. So, using things like noise reduction, maybe cross-fading that background noise so it's less abrupt, because it sounds very amateur when you're just chopping up that audio.
Gracie, the world works on Epidemic Sound to do audio. What is it? Like some huge percentage of YouTubers are all using Epidemic Sound. Big businesses use it. You have a lot of data on what people are actually doing. Mm-hmm. So where does audio make the most sense? At what areas? In transition? Is it overall watch time? Like, why is audio so important? And what do you know from the data about retention and engagement with good use of audio?
Yeah, I would say that everyone thinks about your visual identity, but your sonic identity is like half of the video. It's like what Becca's saying, like if you're skipping out on the audio and the music and the sound design, you're missing half of the video. And what we see with music is that if you have it placed correctly, it makes a huge difference in terms of retention and engagement. If you think about like an entertaining video and you're using classical music in the background to build tension to then the payoff, you're not only hooking the viewer with the visuals, but also the audio. And that works for huge brands and creators.
So let's talk about sonic identity for a minute. I'd love to lean into that with you guys who are experts in creating it too. Becky, you work with a lot of different clients. You do your own stuff. You were at The Verge. How did you think about sonic identity for yourself and your videos versus what you've done for other people, whether they're clients or when you're at The Verge or other places?
Yeah. Well, for me, it started with like what I actually like to listen to, because my videos are so much my personality. And so it was like, what fits my image? And then I kind of painted out from there. If I'm talking about a product that's really fun, like a Game Boy, I might use some audio that's a little bit more playful or 8-bit-esque. Yeah. And so it's kind of finding the right sound for what I'm seeing, but also something that kind of doesn't overpower what I'm seeing. Something that just kind of mixes in nicely to paint a larger picture.
And then, Steve, how do you help the people who watch your videos or with your own videos creating sonic identity that stands out but doesn't overwhelm?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about trying to be more unique. So for me, that's almost anti-trending music. Okay, so I want to use something that's original, unique, has its own style, and the best way to do that is to find original artists. And then also, what I like to do is break that track down. So I like to. You've got an option when you download a track. You can either have the full track or you can download it in stems. So I like to remove the melody because quite often in the videos that I create, which are educational, I'm talking throughout the video. So what I don't want is lyrics in that video because that becomes incredibly distracting. So quite often I take away the melody, might just keep the drums. So it's creating music that sounds original and not distracting and creates a certain tone or a style.
Well, so how do you do that? I'm going to throw that out to everybody. How do you find that tone and style that works? How do you say, I really like this music, but I don't want the lyrics, or I just like that drum beat? Like, how do we do, like, Gracie, talk to me a little bit about how we do that.
Yeah, I would say one of like the best tools with Epidemic is stems. So you can take out the drums or you can take out the lyrics. And I think Steve is touching on something so true where you want music to enhance your video, not distract from it. Yeah. So you want to make sure that the video is supported by the music instead of distracted by it.
And then what about you, Becca?
I think you want to try as many different types of tracks as possible. Like once I find a track I really like, I challenge myself to find two that are completely different from that and put it in and watch it back and see if it enhances it or changes it or, I don't know, drives it in a different, more fun direction.
Okay, so for all of you, and we've got creators out here, we've got people who may be using audio, maybe not, but want to or curious about it. I guess we call them audio curious. If you, sorry,
Nice.
if you think about it though, what's one small thing that everybody out here can go and start doing with audio, maybe as soon as they get home or in the hotel room tonight? One little thing you can do this week that might be a big upgrade. Becca, I'll start with you.
I think just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and listen, whether it's like out in the woods, in this convention center, a YouTube video that you're watching, just close your eyes. I do that a lot with my own videos, actually.
So close your eyes and listen to what other people are doing or just what's happening in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Gracie, what about you?
I would say mood is the new genre. So instead of trying to search for a specific genre, figure out what kind of mood you want your video to evoke. It's kind of like what you're saying of close your eyes and listen. Like, what do you want the audience to feel? And let that lead what you choose as music.
Steve?
Yeah, I'll give feedback to the students that I work with around their audio, and they'll say to me, "This sounds great." And I say, "What do you mean it sounds great? It really doesn't sound great." And they mistake it sounding clear to it sounding good. And they're two very different things. So clear is the audio quite crisp? Yes. But does it sound good? Does it have emotion? Is there atmosphere to this? And quite often there isn't. So again, it does have to sound clear, but it also has to create an emotional response from the audience.
Yeah. So look, if you're looking for people who are doing audio well, clearly these three people here are great people to track and follow and look at what they're doing. But I'm curious, as you start to figure out what other people are doing and lean into it and find out what your own sonic identity is, who are some other creators or other like movie makers or other people that you're like, you should listen to this person? Pick one or two for me, Gracie.
I would say the most typical example of sonic branding is McDonald's with like I'm loving it. And if you think about like almost like little jingles or whatever that are tied so deeply to a brand and like using that as kind of like your stamp and your signature, I think you can do that with movies, with a soundtrack. You can do it with YouTubers and thinking about like what is that little unique signature that you're using for sound.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. So the I'm loving it thing, there are others. There's like the Pentium thing on PCs a long time ago. How did those sort of jingles or those little sonic fingerprints get created? And then how do people create their own? You can listen to it and get a sense of the emotions that it brings up in you. But then how do you think about, I want to make one of my own?
I think you figure out what that is for you. For example, Ryan Trahan, when he did the Penny series, he used an Epidemic track as the outro for all those videos. And then that becomes his brand where like that is the sound of the Penny series and people come to recognize it and expect it. And then it's like now when anyone hears that song, they associate it with Ryan and the Penny series. It can happen organically.
Wild. Yeah. Becca, who do you turn to or who you like or who should these folks listen to or watch to get a sense of who's doing this well?
There's a YouTuber, Gawx, Gawx, and oh my gosh, his videos, I mean, they're movies, they're films, and you could close your eyes and you will be taken on a journey. It's incredible.
Yep. Okay, Cox, and what about you, Steve?
I mean, I always, if I get asked that question, I always default back to Casey Neistat back in the kind of 2017 era when he was vlogging. He wasn't using popular music at all. He wasn't even using music on music licensing platforms. He was reaching out to small independent musicians. And I don't know who the musician was that he was using, but it had such a unique sound. And that just became the Casey Neistat style. And then, of course, lots of other vloggers started copying him using similar music. But yeah, he was the originator of whatever that style was. That's the Casey style.
Okay, so let's get down into production process a little bit here. I want to hear about what your production process is as you're making a video. When do you start thinking about audio, start thinking about music? When do you start integrating it in? Do you start at the beginning, in the middle, at the end? Steve, I'm going to start with you. Talk about that production process, decision process when you start making a new video.
Yeah, that's a really important one. For me, that comes down to context. And again, because what I do is educational, I'm talking quite a bit throughout the videos. I have to be very mindful of when I'm going to introduce music. I liken it to, imagine a university lecturer stood up in front of his students and techno music playing in the background. That just doesn't work. I mean, it would be pretty funny, but it would be incredibly distracting. It's not the best way for those students to learn. So there'll be often times where I just kill the music completely, because it's really important that whatever I'm saying, they're understanding. But then equally, I might be introducing a new piece of tech. And I've experimented with this in the past. If I bring in some music, whether that's a little bit of lo-fi hip hop, that product appears cooler and better. But without that music, the product doesn't seem as good anymore. So I'm bringing in music where it's appropriate in context to what I'm saying and what's visually on screen.
So, but on the production side, when you get started, when you think, I'm going to do a video about this, do you already know when you're going to use music, when you're not going to use it, where you are? Or is it more like I'm like halfway through the process and now I'm going to start thinking about it? When in your production creative process does music enter in?
It changes from project to project, but quite often what I'll do is I'll get all the talking laid out on the timeline. Then as I'm editing the talking to camera, I'm just playing different music in the background, and quite often something just works. And I can never predict it. I can never explain it. It's often dependent on what I'm saying or what my location is. And sometimes I'm adamant that this track is going to work and it just doesn't. And that's a really important tip as well. Just because you've got a track in mind, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always going to work. Always experiment and try different things.
How do you know when it doesn't work real quick?
It feels right. You're not aware of it. It's just setting a tone in the back of your mind. It's creating a feeling. As soon as I'm very aware of that track, it's already not working.
Got it. If it doesn't fade in the background, but create an emotion anyway, then you're like,
exactly. Yeah.
Becca, your process as you go through it, what's your decision process in the production, and where do you bring and start thinking about when to bring music and audio in?
Yeah, so on Epidemic, I have tons of like playlists that are different moods based on what I'm shooting. But I did this big bike trip last year. That was a very different video for me. I usually do tech reviews, and this was riding a bike 500 miles across the state of New York. And so I was riding a bike all day, every day, also trying to film a video. And I made a playlist of like songs that I was hoping to use in the edit of that video. And so as I was riding, I was listening to that and like imagining what the video could look like. And that kind of changed how I shot videos from then on. When I was shooting tech products, I would put on cool music, as Steve was saying. And it really changes how you move the camera, how you move your body, how you present. So that's been huge for me.
It's like a music mood board. I love that, where you're like setting the attention early.
So Gracie, you work with creators around the world at Epidemic, and you talk to beginners, intermediates, advanced, like these guys here. At what point and what data do you have that you can say, okay, here's what you should do on your process? Like if a creator came to you and said, okay, I want to get started, I don't think I'm doing very well, what kind of advice do you give them?
I would say the biggest thing that we see is that if you're thinking about music as an afterthought, you're missing like half of the potential of the video. So in our creator report, 94% of creators are saying that music is impacting the performance of those. So I would say whether you're a beginner or a super successful creator, thinking about not ignoring half of the video and thinking about sound from the beginning is the most important part, rather than like what the track is or the genre. It's just about figuring out your own sonic branding.
Yep. All right. So for all of you, when you think about it, what are some, if you can abstract it to sort of this point and this point and this point, maybe not, it could be a really terrible question, but in what sort of environments, shots, etc., does music lead? When does it just support and do that emotional thing in the background? And when do you pull it back entirely? I know, Steve, you talked about sometimes just making it go away. Is there a way to sort of bring that up a level and give some pointers on that? Or is you just have to feel yourself through the entire process? Steve, pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So an example of this was 2 nights ago. I was on the Las Vegas Strip, and I was filming with 2 police officers, and they were great. They were letting me give them some direction, and I had this idea of a shot, that classic hero shot, where they're both stood with their arms folded in front of their police car, the Las Vegas backdrop, and I got this orbit shot spinning, the background spinning behind them. So happy with this shot. I got it back. I put it on my timeline. I pressed play, and it just didn't. Something was missing, and it was really annoying because I thought I'd had this incredible shot. And I was looking at it for a while, and I realized it's the audio. The audio is just terrible. It's just the natural atmosphere of Vegas, which is okay, but it definitely wasn't what I was going for. So I completely deleted the original audio. Then I laid in the atmospheric sound of Las Vegas with cars passing. Then they had their lights on the car. The sirens weren't going, but I thought, let's add a police siren just to give it more of a police feel. I dropped a siren in. And then it felt sort of too policey. It didn't feel Vegas enough. So then I added some sounds of slot machines and like a power up, a ding, 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 ping, and then some cinematic music. And all of a sudden, this shot went from a 2 to a 10, and it was all because of the sound design.
And so you layered all those pieces on top of each other, and then just figured out how the best works.
Exactly.
Together.
I mean, you say all, but really it was just another 4 layers, which it was relatively easy. It was probably 60 seconds worth of additional work to take a clip from a 2 to a 10. So yeah, it's the most overlooked part of video production. If there's something missing, it's quite often sound.
Yeah, no, Becca, you work a lot in dirty environments, loud, noisy environments.
Yeah.
The bike trip across New York is only one of them. How do you think about when you can add the texture into a location versus we're just going to let the location speak for itself?
Yeah, something that changed for me recently was I started seeing sound. So like a mouse click, like on my, like if I'm showing myself using a computer, like I started seeing like, oh, I see the click. I want to hear that. It's like subconsciously I'm hearing it, but let me actually put it into my video. If I'm seeing leaves in a tree, I want to like hear those leaves more. And so, yeah, it's a lot of like peppering it in post and really seeing it. And then also getting creative with it. A mouse click, I might see a click and I might hear a click in my brain, but what if I did a slightly different click, like a VCR click or, I don't know, like a snap or something like that, and starting to play more.
It sounds like what you're talking about is developing the mental acuity to hear your video. When you see something, it's not just seeing it with your eyes, but hearing what's either there or not. Is that a correct way to describe it?
100%, 100%. And when you first start doing this, you're going to go like really hard in the direction of putting way too much in. Let yourself go crazy and then bring it back.
Okay. So how do you know? And I'll broaden it to all of you guys. How do you know when you've gone too far?
The commenters will tell you.
Okay. How do you know when you've gone too far, Gracie?
When it becomes distracting.
Distracting to you, but how do you know if it's distracting to you? Because you've been listening to it like 20 times.
I think it's like it takes away from the story. If it's not just like adding the emotion and making you feel, like if you're just hearing the sound of leaves and the click as opposed to like following the story, I think that's when it becomes too much.
What about you, Steve?
I just say trust your gut. Your gut's usually right. If I've put something out and it's a little bit overdone, people will tell me.
You trust your ears?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to stick my ears in my gut. All right. So I want to talk about, sorry, I need to eat the mic too. I want to talk about a couple of concrete things. So 3 different moods: tension, humor, sincerity. What's a good, are there audio archetypes that work better in each of those? We'll do each one. It's a tense environment. I'll go one by one. We'll do it quickly. Tense environment, Steve, is there an audio archetype that works in a tense environment?
I always think the sound effect, a riser, works really good for that. You know,
what's a riser?
A riser is a sound that starts quiet and gets very loud very quickly and then abruptly stops.
Okay.
So that's a great way to create tension.
Gracie, what about you?
I think classical music, it works in every genre, and it's like whether it's comedic tension or like suspense, you can use classical music in a build.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strings. I always search for the instrument that I'm like thinking about. So I just
String
go
means
strings.
tension.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's tension.
I actually see a violin in my brain right now. Okay, let's talk humor. Becca, I'll start with you.
Marimba. A
Marimba.
nice marimba.
Marimba's for
Sells
humor.
it every time.
Okay.
I think it's quirky sounds with like humor using sound effects mixed with music. I think can be really good.
You beat me to it. Quirky is the word.
Quirky.
Just type in quirky into a search engine.
So what's an example of a quirky sound?
Don't make me make that.
No, you don't have to do it.
A quirky is just incredibly humorous.
Is it a fart machine?
A spring.
How would you describe quirky music? It's
like it's kind of like children's music.
Children like
comedic.
playful.
Yes.
Or like maybe
childish.
Wah, 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 or something. Is that quirky or is that
can
just
we get that recorded?
overdone?
I could use that.
Yeah.
Okay, sincerity. So you're like something that's sincere, deeply emotional, and you're feeling it. You want to be sincere. Gracie, I'm going to start with you.
I would say it's all the organic sounds. So acoustic guitar, things that feel like they're being played live. I think that taps into like nostalgia and like an organic vibe that brings a sincerity.
Okay, Becca, sincerity.
I think it depends on who's on screen and what's on screen, what matches them best. So I don't know if I have an exact answer for that.
So you got to, that's where you really need to hear the person visually and what you think goes with it.
That's right. You got to hear them.
You got to hear them.
Their
You got to
soul.
hear their soul.
Hear their
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I would totally agree. You have to. It's completely dependent on what's on screen. There's a multitude of different things that could work for sincerity, but again, go with your gut, experiment, and you'll find it.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about what works. Let's talk a little bit about fails. So where do creators go wrong when music is leading too much? How to know if the track is doing too much? Steve, I'm going to start with you. How do you know if you're like in the middle of a fail and you're like, that's not going to work? What are some tips there to recognize when that happens?
Yeah, again, I don't want to keep using the word gut, but your gut will tell you something just feels a little bit off. The key is to experiment. And the best tip that I could give you is to, instead of be searching for like rock music or lo-fi music, search by emotion. Like, what is the emotion that you're trying to get across here? And you can go into the search engine and you can search by mood. So what is the mood you're trying to create? And for me, that's a really quick way to get the kind of music that you're looking for. And just swapping out that music, changing that mood is really dependent on whether that is working or not.
Gracie, how about you? Tips when it's going wrong, and maybe is there a way that Epidemic can tell us when it's happening?
Yeah, I would say you're tapping into the right thing with mood, because I think sometimes you can think, oh, I want this to feel uplifting, but sometimes if you do something contradictory, it can like make an even more impactful video. And I would say for Epidemic, we have so much data on what different genres sound like in terms of our music being heard 3 billion times a day just on YouTube and TikTok. So our recommendations can help you a lot as well, of like this type of content does best with this type of audio.
Becca, when things are going wrong, how do you know?
Yeah. I think it just takes time. I used to hate this advice. Everyone used to be like, it just takes time to get good at something. And I was like, no, I need to get good now. But just keep making stuff. Just keep making stuff. You'll figure out what works, what doesn't. You'll develop your gut. You just got to keep going.
I love the idea of talking to the comments and letting people know when they tell you, maybe leaning in and saying, what was it about that thing that didn't work? Or why was that off for you? And, you might get trolled, but you might actually get some good advice too, right?
Goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Gracie, entire Epidemic catalog. Pull out a couple areas where the best audio decisions that people make seem counterintuitive. You've got all this data. What surprised you that really works that maybe you could share?
I have an example with YouTube Shorts. So we work with this amazing creator, Jenny Hoyos, and it's like,
Jenny's the best.
She is the best. It's like
God.
Entertainment content, and something that's so surprising is like she could have leaned into like humorous music or something quirky, but she's using classical music in terms of like, okay, it's very cinematic, very epic, but it's like building so that the payoff of the video is there. So I would say that's very counterintuitive in terms of a genre choice, but it's working really great.
Yep. Let's move on and talk about AI. Might as well. We haven't talked about it yet. Everybody wants to talk about it at some level. Maybe they don't want to talk about it, but it's there. But AI can actually do some good things when you're trying to make this happen. And I know that there's AI across a lot of different tools, but talk a little bit, Becca, if you use AI in your process or where it can help and where you should just say no.
Yeah, my rule with AI is if 5 years ago I would have paid somebody to do it, I still would pay them to do it today. But I can use AI as a tool that I never had before. For example, what I use it for a lot is background sound removal. That's my main use of it. And then I also really like it for pushing me outside of my comfort zone. So I'll always pick the same songs, and I want AI to come in and give me a suggestion that I would have never gone towards.
Yeah.
And that's when I use it to push me outside.
Now, do you do that by putting a track in with music and audio already in it, or do you describe it with words?
I describe it with words, and then I tell it, give me something completely different from this song.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Steve, what about you? AI in your world?
Yeah, I use it, but for me, I use it to assist rather than replace. So an example of that would be I'll use real human music made by a human. But let's say, for example, I'm looking for a 30-second track to go with a B-roll sequence that I've created, but the track's 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So now AI comes in and I say, hey, take this 3-minute track made by a human and cut it down to 30 seconds. And this is something that I used to have to do manually. It could take like a day for me to do. So I'm chopping out the middle. And again, I don't want to just fade the track out halfway through. I want the end of the track to end at the end of the 30 seconds. So it saves me a huge amount of time having AI come in and it'll cut it right on a beat and it just put a seamless cut. And again, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds. You can say, give me 41 seconds, 52, and it will give you exactly that duration.
Gracie, Epidemics worked a lot to integrate AI in, but still have humans in the loop and human generated music and audio. It sounds like you can probably do what Steve was talking about. So talk a little bit about what's there and what else is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say we're trying to cut all of the manual grunt work for creators and have the recommendations, the adaptability. We just launched a product called Studio where you can upload a video and it'll start the soundtrack for you in terms of like the music, but also the sound effects. So a really good first draft, and then you as a creator can stay in control and do the part that is creative and your own uniqueness, but not have to spend so much time searching for the right track.
Yeah, so it gets you like halfway to your gut saying, ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
It's like
gay.
it's a first draft. And you
It's a
can
first
save a
draft.
lot of time, like to Steve's point, of not having to do all the manual work to cut something down.
Okay, quickly, just give me a quick AI fail that you may have seen. You're like, oh my God, AI, I'm not ever using that again for you, together with you, Steve. AI fail.
Well, it's not related to music, but I've tried to change a thumbnail with my face in it, and it just turned me into a completely different person. So,
So
doesn't work
scary.
at all.
Same.
Terrifying.
The worst. I'm afraid to do it now. I'm out.
Okay, any other AI fails for you?
Just image generation at large.
Yeah.
You never know what's gonna like pop up in front of you. It's a jump scare every time.
It's so true. I'm like, how are the legs still backwards? I like just had something last week. I'm like, what?
It's still that way. Yeah, there's way too many fingers there. I use it. Anyway, we could talk about that for a long time. I want to talk a little bit about licensing. And a lot of people who get started as creators, they see the audio like, oh, TikTok's got this great song. I'm going to put it in. This is great. And then they get all this audio and music in there that's not licensed. And they may end up, someone will come and say, I want to buy your back catalog. I want to put it on Tubi. I want to put it on Hulu. And you can't. So Gracie, can you talk a little bit about that licensing and why that's such an important issue for even the most beginning creator to think about making sure their audio is licensed?
Yeah, I think you need to think about your IP from the beginning. So if you have unlicensed music, like that content can't travel. And also with something like YouTube, if you're using unlicensed music, you can get demonetized. You can lose your whole channel. So it's really no joke. And I think whether you're a beginner or you're a massive enterprise company, like you need to have the license in place from the beginning so that that content can travel all over socials.
Steve, what do you tell to the people who watch your videos about audio and music and licensing? Is that something you get into with them, or you just you're really more about the technique?
Yeah, I do. I get asked about that quite a lot. And again, it's a serious red flag to me if anyone is out there using unlicensed music, because you're just setting yourself up to fail. You've got to think long term. Even if you're a small creator, assume that at some point you're going to have a video that goes viral and you're going to be successful. And if you've been using unlicensed music, you're going to appear on everybody's radar, and you're going to get stuff taken down, and you can get demonetized, and you can have your entire YouTube channel deleted overnight if you get 3 copyright strikes. Yep. If they just find, oh look, he's got 3 videos and they're all using unlicensed music, they'll just wipe you out. So you could lose your business if you're dependent on YouTube now and you're a full-time creator and you've got a back catalog with unlicensed music in it. Be careful.
Ow. Becca, you left The Verge in parts you could own your own IP. Yep. How does audio licensing factor into that? How do you think about that?
Well, as soon as I went independent, I just wanted to start using a service, and I did pick Epidemic organically. That I knew that was going to be safe for me, and I could just use it for life and never think about it. Like I just want to enter the program, and I just want to make stuff. And so yeah, I just chose Epidemic. Yeah.
So we only have a couple seconds left, but I want to quickly for each of you, give me your 60-second audio checklist before you export, before you're going to put something out. What's the last thing you do to make sure that the audio is right and that it all works together? I'll start with you.
Check your levels, check them twice. And also your like transitions between sound effects and even voice. You don't want any pops. Just check your levels.
Check your levels, check your levels, check your levels. Gracie?
Is the mood of the music supporting the video? To do that last sense check of like, is this helping to produce a better video?
Okay. And what about you, Steve?
Yeah, levels, clean audio, remove the background noise, nothing distracting. If you've been talking to the camera and you've chopped it up, make sure those chops are nice and seamless. Fade in between them all.
All right. There is so much more we could talk about with audio and video and how to use it to make videos that get even more viewers and build your community. But guess what? We're out of time. So you give a big round of applause to Becca, Steve, and Gracie. Thank you very much. And if you go to the Epidemic Sound booth, you can go in much more detail on all of this, and they'll be around to chat. We're going to take a quick lunch break, but we will be back very shortly at 2 p.m., and we are going to dive right back into the creator economy. So thank you all. Thank you, guys.